We're live.
Okay.
Yep.
Good morning. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for January 11th, 2023. My name is Don Popple and I'm chairman today. I'd like to introduce our committee. From Ward 5 is Barry Boyce, Chris Bishop from Halliburton, and Tammy Donaldson is a representative from Ward 3 as well. The notice to all those in attendance that this meeting will be streamed on YouTube and recorded. Please note that the recording will be linked to the municipal website following the meeting. Already introduced the committee. It's a public hearing to consider 3 applications for minor variance to the municipality zoning bylaw. It's the committee's responsibility to consider all information received to date regarding the requested variances and to hear and consider any comments or questions provided by these applications. Any variances granted by the committee must meet 4 tests, which are very clearly defined in the Planning Act, and the requested variance must 1, be minor in nature, 2, desirable for the proper development of the land, 3, comply with the general intent of the official plan, and 4, comply with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Please note if anyone wishes to be notified of the decision, please make a request in writing to the municipality. Are there any members here today who have any conflict of interest in any of these cases? And the answer is no. Okay. Any oral or written submissions received in advance of the meeting will be verbally read aloud at the time the application is considered. All persons who are pre-registered will have an opportunity to present or ask questions about the proposals. Please direct all your questions and comments to the chair. Each registered person will have up to 5 minutes to provide comments or ask questions. Once finished speaking, the meeting host will mute your microphone. And we do enforce that requirement because sometimes people can carry on for a little bit too long. Please just state your name in relation to the application prior to speaking. So before we start the cases that we're dealing with today, we have some business that we have to proceed with. And first thing is we're looking for a chairman. So are there any nominations for a chair?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we nominate Don Popple again for chairman of this committee. And just on a little side note there, that this is 40 years to the day, Don.
40 years.
That you sat on this committee, so I just want to make that known that it's quite a accomplishment.
A lot of gray hair, I know that. Is there a second for that motion? Tammy Donaldson seconds it. All in favor? Motion is carried. I'll look forward to carrying on, and I've always enjoyed my involvement with the committee of adjustment. Didn't realize it was 40 years, but anyway, appreciate the confidence to carry on. So the second thing we have to do is deal with the minutes of the 12th of October. And I need a mover and a seconder to accept those minutes as presented. Moved by Barry Boyce, seconded by Chris Bishop. All in favor? That's carried. Declaration. What else we have? Moved by Barry, this second. That one's done. And we need a mover and a seconder to the motion of that the following members of council are appointed to sit as members as a committee of adjustment for 2023 calendar year, effective January 2nd, 2023. Barry Boyce, Pat Casey, Tammy Donaldson, and Carm Sawyer. Someone move that, Chris? Moved by Chris Bishop. Want to get a seconder, Barry? Is this the last one? Well, look at this now. We need a mover and a seconder that Danielle Vibert be appointed as secretary treasurer and the Jeff Isles be the appointed as the deputy secretary treasurer for the Dysart Committee of Adjustment for the term of the committee beginning January 2023. Tammy? Moved by Tammy Donaldson. Seconded by Barry Boyce. In favor? Carried. There you go. So we'll move on to case one, which is the land of Shields. Nothing else we gotta cover before we get on that.
Nope.
So we got the representative for this particular case.
I'm just bringing in Mark now.
Who is the gentleman?
Mark Shields.
Mark Shields?
He is on the screen now.
Let's do that.
Are you live, Mark?
And his wife is there.
Hello.
Good
Hello.
morning. How are you this morning?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. I'm
Good.
joined by my wife, Kristen Shields.
Hello.
Welcome to our committee meeting. Would you like to start bring us up to date on what your request is regarding the committee of adjustment?
We're bringing forward a minor variance for a height variance with regard to our cottage. It's on 1021 Canyon Road on Halliburton Lake. This was first brought forward on the October 12th, 2022 Committee of Adjustments meeting, and it was deferred till this meeting today. I can give you further background. I understand that not all the committee is the same as the previous meetings committee, so I'll give you some more background if you like.
Perfect.
We were issued a building permit in August of 2021 for our cottage. September 2021, we demolished our old cottage and started building our new cottage October 2021. We've been building it since then. It's taken longer than we planned. Our builder took a couple months off in the winter of 2021, 2022, but here we are. The variance came up on October 12th, 2022 before the committee. In that time, we've built a cottage based on the permit that was approved for us. It had a what we call a belvedere that is the height issue in the height variance that's in issue. It's 4 feet above the maximum. I'm using feet, sorry, I should be using meters. It's 1.23 meters above the maximum height allowance. And this was approved in our building permit. Our architect at the time was involved with the permits, and he told us that the height was approved. The only thing that was in variance was that we need the variance for was access to that height, as in stairs going up there, occupancy of that space. So that's what we put the variance application in for.
And the Belvedere, if I can just interrupt my husband for a minute, just to give you all a bit of purpose for the Belvedere is we're located on South Bay, kind of on a rise. So the Belvedere is a space that was strictly going to be used to watch the storms come across the bay and to sit and read books, just like a reading area. Underneath the Belvedere that connects the cottage to the garage is a library. So it's not living quarters. It would have minimal light. It's strictly just going to have basically benches, not even furniture, with cushions on top, like built-in, a built-in bench is basically to watch the storms come across the bay. It's our daughter's favorite thing to do.
Has there been any communication from any of the public with respect to this application?
No, we do not have any public comments on this application.
Okay,
And one other thing, sorry to interrupt you while you're speaking. All of our neighbors actually have approached us and said how much they like the design of the cottage, how nice it fits into the hill. The Belvedere does not stick out above the tree line at all. Our cottage sits down probably, I want to say 20 feet from the road. Yeah. So we've built into the hill to have a walkout. So we've done everything. We hired an architect to specifically design, which is going to be our home. We're moving up to Halliburton as a retirement as soon as the cottage is done. So we've done our due diligence we thought, building what was allowed by the building permit that we got from the township. And all our building has been approved along the way. The framing has been signed off, everything. So we were in kind of disbelief when we got this deferral in October. Also financially, we're at a point that we can't go back. I mean, we have an enormous amount of money invested in this build. And structurally, the Belvedere is an integral part of the cottage. It's not something that just looks like it's added on. It's fitted into the whole build. So I just wanted from my point to say that we have done due diligence to make sure that it fit on the lot, that it looks proper, it doesn't stand out, it's not erroneous, and we weren't trying to circumvent anything here. We were just building to what was approved when we got our building permit.
well, I don't think that you'll get too much disagreement with that, with respect. I don't think there's anybody else that have any questions with respect to this application.
Would you like me to read out the conditions that we've recommended?
Okay,
So there's a condition that the variance applies to the dwelling shown on the property sketch. They're to abide by the tree bylaw. The applicants agree to implement or maintain a 3-meter vegetation buffer along the side lot lines. The structure height of the dwelling is to be confirmed by a verified architect. The Belvedere shall not contain interior or exterior lighting. The Belvedere shall not contain stairs, a mezzanine, floor area to be used for habitation.
so the variance is to section 5.2 to permit a dwelling to have a maximum structure height of 10.73 meters or 35.2 feet, as opposed to required 9.5 meters or 31.2 feet. Can I get someone present a motion on that? Sure.
Can we turn on your volume for me?
There you
You
go.
want Jeff go first?
You're on now.
You want Jeff to go first or I can?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I think before there's a motion raised, the applicants outlined that they wished for there to be floor area in that space. And there's a condition on the floor that's recommended by staff that there is no floor area or access. So before we move to a motion, perhaps that should be resolved. Perhaps it warrants some discussion about whether the committee is okay with floor area up there. And if so, whether there's some ways to mitigate the privacy, but I think it warrants some discussion just to see how we want to proceed.
Well, how many square feet is it? It can't be that large.
It's 12 by 15 right now, which is 172 square feet, 16 square meters, 4.5 meters by 3.6 meters.
But it would have had a big square cut out for the stairs.
Yeah.
It's just literally, the purpose of it is to have a circumference of the outer wall a built-in bench with a foam cushion on it to sit and read a book or watch the storms coming across or watch the stars. There's no issue of privacy because it doesn't come above the tree line. Our property is encased both sides by trees. And as far as the lighting is concerned, the whole issue is not to have it be illuminated at all, other than for code to have a staircase. We wouldn't be sitting up there with lights blaring. The whole purpose is to look at the stars and watch the storms or read a book. It's no different than the second floor. Basically, it's only, I don't have, specific heights for the second story, but it's not that much higher than our second story when you're looking at the build. And, you know, from a financial point of view, had we not been able to obtain a building permit with this usage of the Belvedere, I think we would have probably eliminated it, to be quite honest with you, because it is a substantial amount of monetary put out to have that built. So, you know, I mean, I'm at a loss actually to have these conditions put on it. Quite frankly, when I look across the bay and I have lights illuminating, Christmas lights illuminating properties that will emit much more light than this Belvedere will ever emit. So I think it's a contradiction of, anyways, that's my thought on it. So
You can say whatever you like.
talk my,
We're probably not disagreeing with you. Go ahead, Tom.
no, it's just very heartbreaking.
That's okay. What I wanted to say before Jeff spoke was that can we eliminate those last two suggestions or recommendations for that? Because obviously they know what they want to do and it's not really going to affect anybody else. So can we just eliminate them?
Did anybody disagree with that? So
would you like me to remove them?
Yeah.
Perfect.
we'll go along with that.
So I will remove the lighting condition as well as the gross floor area condition.
And the stairs.
So we've eliminated those two requirements, which will be part of your part of the decision today.
Okay.
And
I was gonna say, is there any further discussion on the vegetation buffer as well?
what about a vegetation buffer? Did you have any problem with that?
And what would that,
What would that entail?
well, like we have the space for that. What would we have to plant trees? Is that the idea?
Go
Jeff,
ahead.
Jeff has a question.
Jeff, would you speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, the way it's worded, so I believe it's well screened already. So the way the conditions worded is that the applicant agreed to implement and or maintain a 3-meter vegetation buffer. I think there's a 3-meter vegetation buffer already, so you just can't cut down the existing privacy screening, or you at least have to leave 3 meters. So that's the way it's worded.
Yeah, and that is the case right now. We do have that in place right now. So that's
Okay. Yeah.
And I would just like to reiterate to all of you that, you know, we're planning on making Halliburton our home. So it's as much as our vested interest to make this
nice.
nice.
And more-
Okay. Well, I think you covered the subject pretty well. Could we proceed with the question? Would someone move that we accept? So it's moved by,
Yeah, with the adjusted conditions.
so it's moved by Tammy Donaldson that variance to section 5.2 to permit a dwelling to have a maximum structure height of 10.73 meters or 35.20 feet, as opposed to required of 9.5 meters or 31.2 feet is granted. And the seconder is Barry Boyce. And the mover is Tammy Donaldson. All in favor? Enjoy your new dwelling and Thanks very
Thank you
much.
very much.
for
Thank
that.
you very
There
much.
was a
Thank you, everyone. We
miscommunication
appreciate it.
somewhere along
Thank
the
you.
line with some of this, so hopefully we can come sometime and see one of the storms.
Awesome.
As long as it's not a hurricane or tornado or whatever, but normal
thank you very-
storms are beautiful.
You're invited
Thank you
anytime.
very much.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
for your attendance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second application in the lands of Hall.
I'm just gonna allow them to talk.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, it's Deborah Hall.
She live?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep. We're hearing you.
All
You want
right.
to just give us some background and a little bit of the information about your application, and then we'll carry on from there with, I'm sure we'll have a few questions for you, but
Okay. It's 2383 Eagle Lake Road. What we want to do is get an easement or a variance for 10 feet to build a garage beside the house. I'm not exactly sure how big my husband wants it. Like, it's not going to be, major big. It's probably like 24 by 24. And that's about it.
has there been any questions from the public? with
Nope,
respect
we've
to-
had no public comments on this variance.
Anybody have any questions with respect to this application? Tammy?
I do. The property that's beside it that it wants to have the minor variance to, what is it zoned?
It's also zoned RE1.
Okay. Does it look like it was wet?
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's zoned RE1. A little bit of background here for you is that this current lot that we're looking at is legal nonconformity for being a small lot zoned RE1.
So is, the reason I ask is because is there a chance that anything is built on it right now? Or it didn't look like there was
No.
anything built on it. So is there a chance that there could be something built on it that would be close to that lot line?
Done. The minimum setback for the altered property is 4.5 meters for a dwelling or a garage.
Okay. So it wouldn't affect
No.
anything going forward?
No.
And the only other questions I had was, is it possible, because you got 9 feet between the house and the possible garage, is it possible that the garage could be attached to the house to give up, then it would only be 1 foot difference requested?
Could you comment on that, Deborah?
I'm not sure if, it's just because there's a deck there. Possibly, but I'm not sure if my husband wants to do that or not. It could be, I guess.
Okay, and is there, and my other thought was that if it was moved back because there's 31 feet from, say, the back of the proposed garage to the shed, is it possible to move it back and in the 10 feet?
There's a slope there. There's like a big slope from the top down to the,
Yeah.
it goes in like a bit of a slope down, like probably about 4 feet.
Okay, so it would need, it looked like the house had to have fill in it to get it to that point, so I couldn't really tell from the pictures how much of a slope it was.
It's like a walkout from the basement. So yeah, it was probably built up a bit.
I don't have a problem if there's nothing going to be built beside it, that's gonna have an issue later on. It's.
We've been told that
course.
next door is the church property and that they'll never build on it, but I'm not sure if that's the truth or not.
Any other questions with respect to this application?
I did have a quick look at, I thought I'm going to drive by it many times, but in regards to the lot next door, Tammy, just like a septic system and stuff like that, there's lots of room on that lot next door. If the church owns it, I don't know who owns it, but that doesn't mean that it won't be sold at some given time. But it looks like there's lots of space there. It's a much bigger lot than what these people are on. So
Okay, yeah.
there's room for everything, I think.
Someone make a motion?
Yeah, I'll second it if you want to.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded, moved by Barry Boyce and seconded by Tammy Donaldson, that the variance to section 9.2 to permit a garage to have a minimum interior side lot line setback of 1.5 meters or 5 feet as opposed to the required 4.5 or 14.7 feet is granted. Carried? Motion's carried. So you're good to go, Deborah,
Great. Thank you very much.
and have a nice day. Thank you very much too.
Thank you. You too.
Great. Okay, then we come to. Oh. Gail Plotner,
Ralph will be speaking today.
pardon me?
Ralph will be speaking and Sue Harrison, his agent.
And
Sorry to
I
do-
believe, yeah, Sue Harrison. Thank you.
Well, Sue
Hello.
Harrison is a speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Yes, I-
give us the history of this, Sue, and we can move on from here.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Ralph wanted to listen. I'm not sure he wants to speak, but he is linked in case there's a question that would be appropriate for him to answer. Anyway, thank you. So I'm Sue Harrison. I'm the authorized agent for Ralph and Gail Plotner. They own a property at 1095 Atomic Drive, which is currently zone WR4L. A few years back, they built a garage with a loft with a building permit. After the fact, they realized that the garage and loft encroached on the neighboring property at 1088 Atomic Drive. So the two neighbors got together and obviously they wanted to resolve the issue. They agreed basically on a land swap so that Ralph and Gail would give Mr. Kazmarchuk, sorry, they would give him some shoreline, and they would, Mr. Kazmarchuk would give the Plotners a 3 meter buffer area around the edge of the encroachment. So it took a while to get to that agreement, and in order to do that, they have to go to the county and get 2 lot addition applications processed. The application has been to the county and it has provisional approval. But given that the Dysart zoning bylaw requires a 4.5 meter setback as opposed to a 3 meter setback, a minor variance is required as one of the conditions of final approval of the 2 lot additions. So that is the rationale for the request. I was not involved when the agreement was struck, so they were not aware that it should have been 4.5 meters instead of 3 meters. But both neighbors are in agreement, and the structure is existing.
I don't think we really have a problem with this, but we've been down this road a couple of times, I think, haven't we, as far as getting the location sorted out? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding something here.
On this one,
Yes,
No,
I don't believe so.
I'll get,
I was gonna say,
Danielle
I
to-
can read out the conditions for you, but this is the first time this application has come to the committee.
oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
It's okay.
So this-
So I think we're prepared to help you out here, but she's going to read what the conditions are, okay?
so we've
Okay, and
received.
may I, sorry, may I comment on the conditions after they're read?
Yeah, yes, you're allowed to comment on, yeah.
Okay.
So we have received no public comments on this variance, but the first 3 conditions are the standard conditions that it applies to the property sketch, that they must abide by the trees preservation bylaw, that it's constructed properly, as well as the applicant must submit a confirmation from an interior land surveyor that the garage meets the interior side lot line setback.
Did you wish to comment on that?
Yes, I had reached out to Danielle about conditions 2 and 3 because they both relate to development and there is no development proposed. So it seemed kind of that they weren't applicable. I mean, he meets them by default of not having any development, but I just didn't know whether they needed to be included. Because we can certainly, agree to conditions 1 and 4, but conditions 2 and 3 are very specific to development and no development is proposed.
Well, from our, imagine from our point of view, what we're concerned about is if you built the thing in the wrong place in the first part, why wouldn't you, like, what this will do is make sure this doesn't happen. It'll mean that you're going along with what the variance is allowed. And it would be very clear, and if you get an OLS survey, we're prepared to go ahead. Is that not correct?
Yeah, she's just she was saying that like the tree, like the condition for the tree preservation bylaw, as well as the construction, the other construction there or condition aren't applicable because there is no development. So she's
Well-
just curious if those two are necessary. Sue, are you okay with condition 1 and 4?
Absolutely.
Yep, so they're okay with the OLS, just not 2 and 3.
Okay. Are you good with that?
That's.
Does anybody got any questions with respect to that? Okay. So the variance requested is variance to section 5.2 to permit a 2-story private cabin to minimum interior side lot line setback of 3.3 meters or 9.84 feet, as opposed to required minimum of 4.5 meters or 14.7 feet is granted. Someone move that motion? Moved by Tammy Donaldson. And second by Chris Bishop. All in favor? Carried. You're good to go.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else we have to do? Oh, yeah. Need a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Moved by Tammy. And seconded by Chris. You resolve the meeting to be adjourned at 11:35 a.m. Thank you very much for your attendance, everybody.